Hey subscribers, I just got a question from Robert in Hanford, California. He's asked me, what should I go for first when I'm investing in real estate? Should I invest in apartments or houses first? Well, Robert, my opinion is, if this is your very first time to buy something, I would suggest buying a house or a duplex. The reason for that is if you go for apartments first, you really don't have any experience in that area, and it may be overwhelming for your first property. However, if you start with one house and you get used to what it's like to manage a property on your own, or even have a property manager, you'll have the ability to know if you want to go and get some more properties or not. If you first start off with an apartment complex and things go bad, you're going to lose your tail. The other thing is, if you find that you don't like being a landlord, it's going to be really hard to get out of it if you have an apartment complex. Whereas if you start off with a house, it's usually fairly easy to get rid of the house, to sell it, and still get pretty close to what you bought it for. So my suggestion would be to buy the house first. The other thing to keep in mind when you own an apartment or you own a house is the mentality of the renter. When you rent out to a renter for a single family residence or a house, typically they'll take care of the property and they're more likely to stay there long term. However, when you have an apartment, people don't really care too much about your property anymore. And most likely they're waiting for any chance they can get to go out and get their own property. So you're less likely to have long-term tenants. Now, that's not going to be true all the time, but I would say the majority of the time that's true. Occasionally you will have long-term tenants where the tenants moved into the apartment, the rent's cheap enough, and they'll stay there as long as you keep the rent the same or pretty close to it. As for my suggestion, I would go with a single-family residence for your first one. The other thing to keep in mind is once you've done one or two properties and you've rented them out for a couple of years, now you might look toward those commercial properties. An apartment, anything that's 5 units or more, is considered a commercial property because it requires a commercial loan if you don't pay it off outright. Commercial property is a great way to go in because you can find some properties where the tenant themselves take care of the upkeep of the property, as well as paying the taxes on the property and the insurance on the property. It's much easier to evict somebody that's running out of business, in my opinion. For the businesses that are paying, most likely they're wanting to pay their rent because they want to stay in business. And for you to go in and be able to close the doors to that business because they aren't paying their rent can make it very detrimental to their business. So they're more likely to pay you on time and every time each month. So if you want to start with a low-level commercial property, say a dentist office or a orthopedics office, someplace where the business is established, it won't be going anywhere, and can bring in the clientele to make the payment on your rent, that might be a good way to go to for your first property. So maybe a low-level commercial property, or to get a small house or duplex. I find that the people that live in my duplexes have basically the same mentality as those that live in my houses. And the good thing about the duplex is if one unit ends up going vacant, then I still have another tenant that's making the mortgage payment. Although my properties are paid off, so I don't really have to worry about making the mortgage payment. But it's nice to have money coming in every month, and it's not too often that I have both units vacant. So there's my ideas for you. I hope that helps you out. Hey, if any of you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. Send me an email or message me down below. And don't forget to subscribe. Real estate can be a daunting task. There are a lot of questions people have. Feel free to ask. I've been doing this for over 12 years. I may look really young, but I've been doing it for a while. And I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Good luck.